Welcome back, Fantasy Fiction Fanatics. It's great to see you again, and I hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to be sharing with you my top 5 favorite authors for the urban fantasy subgenre. For those of you who don't know what urban fantasy is, it is the subgenre of fantasy that includes Earth, or our present day seemingly version of Earth, that has fantasy elements in it. So any stories that deal with our world but have those fantasy elements or mythical creatures or something that is not actually realistic in today's world is probably an urban fantasy story. If you'd like more details on urban fantasy and what that is, I do have a blog post on the different types of fantasies, and I will link that down below for you guys to check out if you'd like some more details. If you enjoyed today's list, hopefully you will give me a thumbs up as well as subscribe, because I would love to have you as part of the Fantasy Fiction Fanatics community if you are not already a part of it. I hope that you will check out my other videos and will enjoy them as well. Speaking of, if you are more interested in high fantasy, which is fantasy that is more classic in its own fantasy world, then there is a video that I have on my favorite authors for that, and I will go ahead and link it somewhere up here for you to go ahead and check those out as well. Author number 1 is probably my favorite author of all time, and that is Jim Butcher, and his main urban fantasy series is the Dresden Files. And I absolutely love this series so much. It is excellent. It has an amazing writing style. Butcher's writing style is super great, in my opinion. His characters are fantastic. Most of the characters are super interesting. They have a lot of cool aspects to them, and they're unique. The main character is so snarky, and I love it. So all the characters, I would say, are really excellent, and many of them fall under kind of my favorite types of characters. And the world is super, super cool. It's very fleshed out, very thought through, and he really gives it life. So really enjoy this series so much, and overall I just really like what stories he writes, and I really like how he writes them, and I really like everything about it as a whole. So that is definitely my favorite author, and my favorite urban fantasy author in particular, Jim Butcher. Number 2 is Patricia Briggs, and she is a very high second. I really like Patricia Briggs a lot. I think she has some high fantasy series, but I haven't read those. But her urban fantasy, the Alpha Omega series and the Mercy Thompson series, are both incredible. I really like her easy to read writing style. It's a very simple, easy, quickly to get through writing style. It's just really, you just skip along the words, and they're just so clear and concise and simple, which is sometimes really nice to read something that's not super complicated to read. I really love her world as well. That one's, her story is more focused on werewolves, though they do have other kinds of creatures in it, like vampires and witches and stuff like that. But the main characters are kind of more towards werewolf life. And I really like that world and how she structures it, the characters that she puts into it, especially Mercy Thompson, who is the main character of her Mercy Thompson series, is another one of those snarky, really great characters. And all the characters in whole on both of the series, though, are super excellent. They have their good qualities about them, and you really, truly know them as the series goes on. Both of her series are just both also good because they're very quick books. Not saying that they're don't have any depth to them, because they definitely do, but they're just quicker to read because of the writing style being so simple and so easy, as well as them a lot of times being shorter in page count. So really great author. Definitely recommend checking her out if you haven't already. Number 3 is Ilona Andrews, and she has several series. She's got a lot of them that are urban fantasy, though some of them I would say kind of border on being paranormal romance. So some of them even look like they're a paranormal romance, even though really I would say they're more urban fantasy than just a romance. So I would say give her a shot, even though it may seem like some of the covers of her books do not seem like they're fantasy. They definitely seem like they're a romance, especially her Hidden Legacy series. But I think there's a lot more depth to them than just the romance that is in the story. So if you're kind of curious about this author, but you're like, this doesn't seem like my kind of thing, especially with the Hidden Legacy series, try it out anyway. I think you'll be surprised that it is a really good series. And all of her series are really good. They're very diverse in writing style, which is one thing I think is really cool about her, is that each book that you read, or each series I should say, it doesn't seem like it's the same writing style. It really seems like it's pretty unique. Like each series has its own feel to it, has its own flow, has its own point of view. Like some of them are first person, some of them are third person. So I like that diversity about her, and it feels fresh every time for Ilona Andrews. And all the worlds are super interesting. All the stories are super interesting. I really like how all of them seem unique and their own thing, and they bring something new to the urban fantasy genre. And I think her series are especially good for those who like female characters that are the main characters. Because all of her series pretty much have a female lead as the main character. So if you're more into reading about men, or if you kind of like more of a diversity of men and women main characters, you might not be interested in all of her series, but I think you should definitely check them out if you like strong women characters. I guess it's really not she, it's a duo for this author. Ilona Andrews is actually a husband-wife pair. But I just say she because it seems like a woman's name. But anyway, they really have great women main characters, though all of their characters are super excellent. Number 4 is Eileen Wilks, and she only has one series, that is the World of the Lupi series. Again, another werewolf-oriented series, but I really, really like Eileen Wilks, and I like how she is different than Patricia Briggs. She has a really cool, intricate story and intricate world. I feel like even more so than Patricia Briggs sometimes. It's very much really developed and in-depth, and it's got some different aspects than Patricia's stories do. It's got extra characters and extra dimensions and things like that that really add a big difference between the two series. So both are excellent in their own rights. That just depends on what kind of story you're looking for. If you're looking for something more simple and straightforward, Patricia's the way to go, and then Eileen Wilks is a lot more kind of that little bit more complex sophisticatedness to it. The characters, again, are excellent. I know I'm saying that about all of them, but they are my favorite series, or favorite authors even. So it kind of makes sense that they would all have excellent characters and stories and worlds. But they are definitely different, so they each bring their own thing to the table. And last but not least, number 5 is Benedict Jacka. And he does the Alex Vera series, which is very similar, again, kind of to authors that have similar kind of stories, to Jim Butcher. It's another story. Both of these series are about a wizard who lives in our modern day times and has things that happen to them based on whatever problems come into town, and they have to deal with it. So it is kind of similar to the Dresden Files. I would say it's not as sophisticated. It's a little bit less sophisticated, a little bit more simple in writing style and in story, but it does have an interesting take on the world. It does have some interesting nuances to it and some big differences between the stories. So again, it still makes it excellent, while even though it has that similarity to it. So I just think the writing style is super interesting for Benedict Jacka as well. So definitely check out him if you like that kind of story. All right, I guess, again, I kind of have a theme about why each of the authors are good. I guess you can tell what makes a story good for me, but these are my top 5 favorite urban fantasy authors, at least right now. Most of these authors I've liked for a really long time, and they are continuing to be excellent even now. I love reading their stories, and as they continue going forward, they keep bringing out excellent content. So definitely check these 5 out. I hope to hear your thoughts if you've already read any of these, or if you're planning to read any of these authors. I'd love to know your thoughts, your feelings, your opinions, as well as what are your top 5 favorite urban fantasy authors if you do enjoy urban fantasy. I'd love to hear your thoughts on those and any recommendations on who I should try next. All right, I guess that's it from me today, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.